Hey everybody, it's Mike over here at Growtopia and MILF. Man, I love farming, yes. Well, I got some cool stuff I'm going to be planting today, and some cool little different tricks in case you guys are looking for a little different run of the mill of how to do seeds, how to plant them, what to put them in, so on and so forth. But before we start off, I'm going to show you something that I've been experimenting with for probably about a couple weeks, and it is, well, you called it. It's a tray of green things that are growing. Sprouts. So instead of having like the normal setup where you got holes in it and stuff, you can see there's definitely some residual water in here, so I can dump this water out, or I could just let it sit. Now, why would I let it sit? You're like, well, that's a bad idea. You can get root rot. Well, there's probably over thousands of seeds in this aluminum tray. There's no medium, there's no fertilizers, there's nothing. So what I did is I soaked the seeds in cold water for about 24 hours, and then what I did is I strained them out and I laid them inside this tray. That was way more seeds than I really should have put in here. Then what I do is once a day, when I get home from work, I spray some water in here from the tap, and that's it. There's no grow lights, it's not in the sun, it's literally sitting on my island in my kitchen under a fan that constantly blows. It's constantly going, so it's blowing air. So it kind of helps keep it dry. Plus, it's also not getting any sunlight. This is the first sunlight it's seen the whole time it's been growing, because we're inside the nursery right now. And it's growing great. Every day it's getting more and more and more. Now there's a little bit more water in here than I normally put. I put a little too much last night, but I'm going to let it sit. And I won't water it today. I probably won't water it tomorrow. And all I do is I just tilt it to a corner and I go, okay, we got a lot of water in here, but I could also take the water, and I could rotate it all around the tray so it grabs everybody. And each day they're growing about 1/4 of an inch. You guys get a good look at that. I get the camera on it. Pretty cool, right? Let me go put it back there so it doesn't get too much sunlight. So what's growing in there is alfalfa, broccoli, radish, and clover. And it's all edible, obviously. And you could just take it, and you can cut them, and they just keep growing. So that I'm really excited for. So we're going to be definitely doing that. But I got some other things I want to show you too. See, it's not always about growing stuff that I can eat and consume or be used as an herbal medicine, or even going down the road of now this year is using something to scrub my body with. So what I also like to do is put some stuff out there for the birds, for the animals, pollinators, also bringing some color onto the property, and also some new cool stuff. So one of the things that I grabbed from Amazon while I was looking for something else was little blue stem, is this one here. Now what's cool with this is it's a perennial, so that's always what you want to kind of hunt for. You always want to look for a perennial when you're buying seeds. I mean, you can go for annuals, which is what, which is 90% of all these crops are, except for like asparagus. And something else. I lost my train of thought. I know it's asparagus is one of them, which I have like 2 years into out there. Something else. So, brain fart. So anyway, so this is a late summer to fall cold stratify, which is basically meaning like, you take it, you put it in the fridge or the freezer for X amount of days, blah, blah, blah. Direct sow late fall to early spring, cold stratify for 30 days by mixing with moist sand and refrigerating. So 1/4 deep. Keep moist until sprouted, then thin 12 to 24 inches. So what's the reasoning for this? It's a native warm season bluegrass with fine blue-green foliage that turns copper in the fall. Larva hosts for skipper butterflies, provides cover and food for wildlife, drought tolerant and deer resistant, zone 3 to 9. Soil temp 60 to 75, 1/4 inch of depth. 14 to 30 days germination, needs full sun, and grows 2 to 5 feet. So this is cool to, like, have in certain parts of your property. I'm not going to do any of the cold stratifying stuff. I'm just going to lay it down like I normally do, and stuff grows no matter what. I only soak those seeds just for shits and giggles. But the last ones that I planted, that I was experimenting with over there, that I got rid of on top of the foam, which didn't work at all, that was a bad idea. They germinated in about the same day. So, but then it got moldy and I got rid of it all. So, and it's like 80 degrees in here right now, so I got the window open too, and it's 30 degrees outside. This room, it gets super hot in here. There's a lot of plants in here that aren't happy with the heat, so I had to, like, open the window and shut the heat off in this room. So, but yeah, we're gonna plant this one down. So this is the Stratify, the little blue stem. I'm not sure where I'm gonna stick them yet, but I'm gonna put them in different little spots on my property. Next one we have is pretty cool looking, is Indian grass. It's also a perennial. It's late summer to fall. Zone 4 to 9, native warm season grass with golden seed heads, blue-green foliage, and orange to purple fall colors. Birds and pollinators use it for food and cover. Drought resistant, great for erosion control and soil management. 60 to 65, quarter-inch depth, 14 to 30 days. Full sun, 3 to 8 feet. Direct sow, fall to early spring. Cold satisfied for 30 days by mixing with moist sand, refrigerating, blah, blah, blah. Quarter-inch depth. Keep moist, blah, blah, blah. So, this is pretty cool, this Indian grass. I got ideas of where I'm going to stick this in certain sections of my property. And I like how it's drought tolerant. Right, this is drought tolerant as well, right? Most of these things are. I mean, I live in it's hardly drought tolerant out here. Yeah, something like that. So those two are probably going to be running near each other along a fence line. Just because. Next one I have here is hollyhock. Tall, old-fashioned flowering plant, produces showy blossoms, ranges in colors, best to grow in full sun. Sow quarter-inch depth as well. In well-drained soil, keep moist but not waterlogged. Water regularly to establish and occasionally fertilize, spacing sparsely for better blooms. Use stakes to support taller plants. So these are going to grow really tall, and it looks like there's like a little bit of pink and whitish yellow in them. So these look pretty cool. So I'm probably going to, like, stick those probably around my pond, and in different spots all over the place as well. These are, if I'm not mistaken, these are perennial as well. I tried to go for only perennial plants for obvious reasons, so that I grow them once and then they come back every year. And that's it. The next one we have here that looks really cool, and these companies that I'm using, that you see, I use all the time. So these seeds actually do work. They're not like something you got off of Tumu that doesn't work at all. This is all like legitimate seeds. You can get them from Amazon. It's probably like 50 bucks, 60 bucks in seeds, maybe less than that. Most of these packets like these are like $4, and there's, thousands of seeds in it. Something like that, a couple hundred, whatever. This is full sun. It says 1 ounce per 100 square feet. It's a hardy perennial with fiery red and yellow blooms that resemble a sunlit tapestry, drought tolerant and long blooming. Perfect for borders and pollinator gardens, which is definitely what you need when you're growing like tomatoes and zucchini and cucumbers, especially corn too. Even though corn is self-pollinating, where it fertilizes itself. You got the male on top, which is a tassel, and then on the bottom you have the strings that come out, and each string on a corn cob is each kernel. So you need the little tassels to shake to drop the seed onto the female of the plant, and then it grows the corn, and then eventually when that hair gets brown, then you can pick your corn and so forth. You could also do it too by shaking it. You can go out there and shake your corn. I did that too. Neighbors look at you, but I don't care. 14 to 21 days to germinate. It's better than taking a Q-tip to cucumbers and zucchini. 70 to 85 days to flower. 14 to 30 inches tall. Pick a spot with full sun. This perennial needs well drained, even poorly poor or sandy soil to thrive. It's kind of hard. Most of my property has been redone with all good soil, so, but there are some spots that I do have all over the place that I don't really plant in, such as like the fence line I'm looking at over here. I could lay them through there. The next one we have here is switchgrass. Another one I thought was pretty interesting. It blooms mid to late summer, perennial 3 to 9 zone. A tall native warm grass with an attractive red-purple seed heads and textured foliage that turns golden in fall. Provides cover and food for wildlife and pollinators. Larva hosts for skipper butterflies, drought tolerant and adaptable. 60 to 70 degrees temp. Soil temp. Now that's soil temp, 60 to 70. It's probably about 40 if you take a soil thermometer and you stick it out there. Usually the soil, ironically, sometimes is 10 degrees warmer than it is outside. So being that these are going to take a long time to germinate, and it's March, and I'm probably not putting anything into the ground until June, 30-day germination is not a big deal. So 14 to 30-day germination, needs full sun, 3 to 6 feet. This is switchgrass. Next one we have is lance leaf tick seed. Perennial, late spring to summer. So you notice that some of these are like midsummer, some of them are late summer into fall, and then there's this one, late spring to summer. The reason why I did that is I wanted to stagger the plants. So if I put a mix of these together in an area, and I get, okay, these ones grow, and then they die out, and then another one comes in, and then so on and so forth. So you always have flowers growing, you always have plants, especially to help your pollinators out there, you know, the bees. You don't want to over have pollinated plants, because then they're not going to go to your plants you're trying to grow. You know, if the bees go out there and they find a buffet of blanket flower and lance leaf tick seed, they may not be hungry enough or eager enough to want to go to your tomato, zucchini, and cucumber plants. So you want to like just enough to appetize them, but also not overfeed them. And you wonder, how do you do that? You don't put a lot out there. You just put little ones here and there just to get the pollinators in there. Bees are your friend, people. If you don't like them, then fly off. As known as lance-leaved tick seed, this easy-to-grow native wildflower has yellow daisy-like blooms that attract bees and butterflies, tolerates poor, gravelly soils, drought-resistant, self-seeds easily. That's cool. So that means you can almost get like a field of these, not that hard. 60 to 75 soil temp. Planting depth. Here's a new one. Surface, it says 0. What that means, it's a surface cedar. Meaning, so, to be honest with you, 90% of all plants, you don't really have to put them that deep. Okay? Tomatoes is a whole different situation. You know, you put the seed in there, and then the plant is this tall. Okay, so you got the top of it, right? You have the top of the soil, your tomato sticking out. Let's say this is my finger right there. Okay, is the stem. So it comes out to here, and this is the first leaf. You plant from the bottom of your soil bag all the way up to the bottom of that first leaf, about that far from that leaf in the ground. What that does, that strengthens the plant itself. And a tomato plant, if you ever noticed, if you ever planted it too low, it's got all these weird white little fingers coming off of it. Those are its roots. You didn't plant it deep enough. So all you got to do is just plant it deeper next go around. Or you can try to risk and plant it deeper. It's better to do it from when you find the first leaf, you take about, you know, look at your finger from the tip of your thumb to your knuckle is usually what I do. You know, go like this, and you look at your thumb to your knuckle, and that's how much room I leave from the bottom leaf. And if I plant it too low, I just take very carefully, I take my very clean cutters. These aren't clean, but they would be clean at the time. I dip them in some alcohol, I clean them with some clean water, I wipe them down, make sure they're nice and dry. You know, make sure you're careful. These things are very sharp. You don't want to cut yourself, because then it starts a whole different type of gardening. It's the bloody garden. And then you just take a nice, careful snip, not so close to the stem. You don't want to damage the stem of your plant. Because if you slice into the stem of your plant, it's like slicing your finger. Now you got this big cut here. It's going to take a long time to heal. So just take a little bit back. So if you take the thickness of the cutter, from the thickness of the cutter, you double it to cut it. I know this sounds I know it sounds normal for a lot of others, but some people, I've seen it, they cut right up against their plant. They cut into the main stem of their plant. Their plant slowly starts to slow down. The plant ends up dying, and they go, "What did I do wrong?" You know, it's the same thing if you slice your finger with a kitchen knife. Now you got to stop cooking. You're wrapping yourself up. Blood's all over the place. Now you're trying to like, oh my God, what do I do? Anyway, so this is pretty cool. So surface planting. I know I went on a tangent. So a lot of plants, if you think about it, when the seed falls, it hits the ground. It's on top of the soil from the get-go. Leaves, grass, soil, rain, and it slowly sinks into the ground. And they've established that somewhere around 1/4 of an inch is the really optimum planting. Well, apparently with this one here, if I could pick up the seed packet, it obviously drops seeds constantly. So being that it's constantly dropping seeds, it lands on the surface of the soil, and the seeds are strong enough to actually just pop up and keep going. So anyway, so it's 7 to 14 days germination, full sun, and grows to 1 to 2 feet. And being that they're self-pollinators, and I have a place where I put a lot of my bird seed, I have an idea where I'm going to stick these. I'm going to stick them within the vicinity of the bird feeders, so it adds more to it. But anyway, that is lance leaf tick seed. I don't know why it says tick seed. It's a horrible name. Say the word tick, you know. Even that's like making me cringe. Anyway, this one is foxglove. Foxglove I have always liked. I've used this company before. I've used others. I just figured let me grab more of these. These like full sun to partial shade. Bring timeless elegance to your garden. Foxglove seeds. Each packet contains over 250,000 seeds. Perfect for creating vibrant cottage-style flower beds that attract bees, butterflies, and other pollinators. Well-draining, rich soil. Sow gently. Press seeds into soil. Water and keep moist until germination, 14 to 21 days. These are a 2-year, aka biannual, self-seeds for natural reappearance. Now, this is a plant, like many others, you got to be very careful. If you have children or pets, foxglove may not be for you. Okay, this plant is very toxic if you ingest it. All parts are harmful. Keep out of reach of children and pets. It's for ornamental use only. Please, people, do not let your babies eat the foxglove. Also, keep your dogs, your cats, your guinea pigs, and whatever else away from it. Beautiful flowers, but also very deadly. Oh, I hate when my finger goes into the foam over here. Next one I'm going to horribly butcher is Delphahum seeds. Now they're very similar to foxglove. They're another towering plant. You can see the foxglove have a bell shape that goes down, and Delphahum is more of a flower. Oh. It's never too early. It's tall, elegant, flowering spikes. Excellent for cottage gardens and cut flowers, so they would go nice side by side with each other. Easy to plant on the surface, press the gent in, do not cover, keep moist, use dome or wrap, germinate 70 to 75, 10 to 21 days, transplant when 2 to 3 true leaves form. Another terminology you might hear, true leaves. True leaves. So what true leaves mean is there's leaves and then there's true leaves. So let me show you. So a true leaf, I'll give you an example. Here is my tomatoes. Okay? Now they look a little dilapidated because the Big Mama tomato, if anybody remembers from last year, my big titty tomato. And if you don't, look back in the video of me and my Big Mamas, they look like a big oblong boob. They do. They got like a nipple on the end of them. I guess that's why they call them Big Mama. I didn't give them the name. But I saw why. So take my Big Mamas for an example. they're a very viney. So I grow viney tomatoes. Well, it makes it a little harder for me to push them onto people because people want something that, if you're living in like a condo or an apartment, or even if you're living in a house and you don't want a tomato that can grow 20 feet, don't get a big mama. So you can see, because it's a viney, it's already starting to go crazy. So you can see that there's 2 true leaves. That means these are the 2 true leaves that are starting. So when I go to plant this in the ground, first for starters, I would plant it about here, okay? And then I put it in my greenhouse when it's time. And then when it's time to go outside, first I gotta see if the greenhouse is acceptable to take plants. Another one I'll show you is my tiny Tim, which is perfect for patios, apartments. They only grow to 12 inches tall. I think 12 inches in diameter. And you can see how it's just a straight up and down solid stem. And you can see these are 2 true leaves. And what will happen is as it goes on, now it doesn't say that it's skinny. It gets a little thicker than this, probably about almost the thickness of a pencil. And almost. And what they'll do is it'll grow literally straight up in the air. And after that, it'll have the stem will come out between the 2 leaves, and then you'll have 2 to 3 leaves, and so on and so forth. So when they talk about the true 2 to 3 leaves, these may not always be the true leaves. You'll notice when they get bigger, like these leaves will be small, and eventually they'll fall off. They might stay on, but usually they fall off, and then you'll have 3 leaves. I'm trying to see if anybody's got those. Luckily, we're not at that stage yet. As of right now, as I say that, as I look around, everybody's 2 leaves at the point right now. Oh, okay, let's see. Okay, so here is one of my loofah plants. Okay, you can see how I got 2 loofahs growing inside one, and they're also a viney, creepy, crawly, kind of like the big mamas, kind of like the cucumbers, kind of like the zucchini, kind of like beans. I call them my crawlers. They crawl all over the place, so you got to like keep a hold of them. And how do you keep a hold of them is tomato clips. I know I go on one thing and then I go on a tangent about something else. Everybody watch Mike fall over. Why don't I stick that on the bottom shelf? These are tomato clips. Now you can get them almost anywhere, or you can get them from Home Depot. You can get them from Amazon. You have a string, like I have a string on my ceiling as an example. What you do is you put the string in the crack here, see that little V, and then you clip it onto your plant. What it does is it's not tight on it, but what it does is it keeps it. So if you want to keep it, I just locked it. If you want to keep it this way, okay, and you're like, okay, I want it to grow on this side, I can do this, and I can direct it where I want it. And then all you do is you push in, and they pop open. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here is my example string that I have. Well, how my setup is. I have 2 hooks that screw in. I have this cable, this string spool that I can tighten and loosen. And then this is how they sit. So they clip on, as you can see. This one is not really clipped on the best, but it gives you an example of it. Like here's this one here that's clipped in. Okay, so you can see how it's clipped in with the string. You want it a little tighter. And then this lassos around your plant. And the bottom of the string, you usually have it tied onto something so that, you know, you have it tied down to the bottom so the string is tight, depending on where the string is. So a lot of times I'll have a plant here, but the string is here. So as the plant is growing, I'll pull the string, I'll loosen it from there, and I'll clip the bottom of the stem. Now either I'll tighten it to try to pull it, or I leave it. If you tighten it too much, you can break it. Like the stems on these guys are very, very thin. They're very delicate at this stage. But these guys are going to be going into the ground. I bought 3 very large trellises that I have to assemble that are going to be in my front yard, in front of my house. And I'll be growing these plants, which are very large. Each bag has 2. So it's not 14 plants, it's 28 plants as of right now. You can see the roots that are coming out of the bottom of the bags. I know as I'm like jostling it around, but the reason why I grabbed the loofah was to show you that if you look right in between, very carefully here. Try not to hurt you. But you could see between the two leaves, it might be a little hard to see it, but there's a little leaf coming out of there. That falls into the realm of the 2 to 3 true leaves. Now I watered them this morning, and currently what they've been doing, I watered everybody here around like 5 in the morning. It's 7 or 8 o'clock now after I ran to Home Depot to get some soil. And I always have trouble trying to grow rosemary, so they had rosemary there, so I grabbed the rosemary plant. Looks pretty good. It was like 20 bucks. Big plant. So I have that currently in here. It's funny too, because I got it outside and it's 30 degrees and it's doing fine, but yet if I grow it and I stick it outside, it's dead. So maybe that strain is obviously is a different strain than mine. And I think I can propagate it by actually cutting a piece of it off, if I'm not mistaken. And you stick the cut section off in a little water, and then little shoots will come out, little roots, and then you can put it in soil, and I can grow more. My idea is to try to keep this plant all year round, because I had a rosemary about 5 years ago when I started getting into planting, and I had it for 3 years, and then I got distracted with cars, and planting went on the back burner, and it was dead. And so then I got back into planting. But anyway, that is this guy here. So we're going to move on. We have one more to go. One more. This one here is very interesting. This is Bells of England. Never heard of it before. If you look it up, the flower of it is really cool. It kind of falls into the last two where it shoots up, and it has basically what looks like little green bells. It says about roughly 400 seeds, pollinators, pollinator tractor. This is an annual. Bells of Ireland can be direct sowed outdoors when temperatures are at least 65. Sow in borders, beds, natural settings. The plants are widely used in floral decorations, which includes floral arrangements and boutiques. I swear they put these words together just to cause me to trip. Cut flowers last 7 to 10 days. Provides full sun, 1/4 inch depth of growing, 30 inches tall, 10 to 12 inches apart, up to 1 inch bloom. Sprouts in 7 to 14 days. Well drained soil, water daily, and green flowers. So it says water daily. Now there is some variations that I do with that, and I'll shoot that in the next video. I'm not gonna have a long video here of me talking. I'll have another video if you guys want to continue on and watching how I grow, how I sow them from here. And the next setup, definitely look for that video. That'll be right after this one. It'll be part 2 of the flowers of 2026, something like that I'll call it. Because of the way that I put them in the soil and my setup in here, I don't have to water daily. I could literally water once a week. Now the problem is that there's a lot of plants that don't have the covers on them anymore, so they don't hold the moisture, but I'm also not getting root rot and mold growing. So I have to come in sometimes every 2 to 3 days. Now, I've heard some people say, hey, you know, my soil's dry on top, but then I go to put water in it, and there's a lot of water in the bottom. Problem is, dry soil on top isn't always a good marker that the plant needs water. If you're able to, like the bag, take it out the bag and check the bottom. That's why I like these grow bags, because the problem is, I don't have a box that's open, but the problem is, with regular planting soil, you can't pull it out easily. Now you can pull out the tray, probably see under it to see if there's roots, or see if it's wet. What's nice with these trays that I have here, like these ones, okay, these guys take a while to grow, so I'm not worried about it. But what's nice with these trays is that the bag is big enough, okay, and it stays together. It's got this little burlap, and it literally takes, I think, about 6 to 7 months for this to finally break down, give or take. It does break down. But I could take this tray out like such, and then I can check inside my tray on how much water's in here. Now there's not a lot of water in here. These guys don't like a lot of water, and when I pull out the bag, I can feel the bottom of them. Now they're a little dry, but not crazy. But I did water, get out of here, spider. I did water them earlier in the week. So like if I look at my other plants, you could also tell by different plants, but unfortunately not all plants show the same form of needing water. Some of them will have browning on the leaves, some of them will have curling. Like my coffee plant is a pain in the butt because the leaves will turn brown and fall off anyway, and it gets the right amount of watering and sunlight and the right amount of heat. But then on top of it, it's all these big, giant, vibrant green leaves. So it's not dying, it's just getting rid of the foliage, because most of that foliage that's underneath isn't getting any sunlight, so it just dies and drops, and then the tree grows. I think it's a coffee tree, not even a plant. It's actually funny. Bananas, fun fact before I end this video, bananas are not a tree. They're actually a plant. We call them a tree because they look like a tree. But a tree has a solid stem, a solid structure that can be used into basically wood. But bananas are actually a plant that grows. That's why it's so soft that you can take it down with a machete. Anyway, guys, fun facts, more to know. Watch for the next video.